Welcome, everyone. This is Our Souls Speak. Welcome to this episode of Our Souls Speak. It's my honor to introduce our guest today, Alex Crockford. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Nice to see you.
So you are the founder of Alex Crockford Fitness and Wellness app. It's and a content creator with over 1 million followers and 58 million YouTube views. You hold a degree in fitness and personal training and have worked with one-on-one with countless clients, helping them transform health, strength, well-being, and confidence. Today, through your app and global online community, you inspire people to build sustainable habits in fitness, nutrition, well-being, empowering them to live stronger, healthier, and happier lives. So your topic today, Alex, is the body as the gateway to expansion. And I guess I want to start out with was there an event in your early life that led you on your journey to the body and fitness?
An event. I don't think it was an event. I think it was a natural calling, a natural journey that was always physical, always body, always sports, really. My interest was always on the sportier elements of life rather than the academic elements, shall we say. So I was very busy as a child, outside and on trees and running around. And as soon as I could kick a ball and swing a golf club and throw a basketball, that's what I was doing. And I remember being very excited when I was young to be in a football team and basketball team, and always out playing sports more than sitting in a classroom and doing my homework. So that naturally just evolved over time to then into college and university, going down a fitness route and going to the gym and things like that.
And how has that informed your life?
Well, that has been the foundation of my interest, my gifts. And as soon as I went to university, as you said in the intro, for fitness and personal training. So my career immediately took off in personal training, and I spent many years one to one with many people. But even in those early days, there was a keen interest in me that there was more to the body and more than just fitness and more than just the physical. I was very interested in myself and my clients' mindset and habits, and that it's not as simple as just getting fit and getting strong and eating what you want. But some people fail and some people can't be consistent. So what is it? So I was very keen to unravel people's mindset and things like this. But then it went further. Even in those early days for myself, I was realizing that I was starting to achieve the things that I wanted to achieve, and the mountains of goals that I had were getting bigger and bigger. And that led me to the interest of law of attraction and manifestation, and that there was more than just the body, there was more than just the mind, there was something a bit more mystical than all of that as well. And then I really started to apply what I was starting to learn in regards to visualization and manifestations to create my life and to go after my dreams. And that journey has never ended in regards to my spiritual awakening. And I don't think that I had any one key massive moment of spiritual awakening. It's been a gradual uncovering of truth as I've started to understand more about life and the universe. But the body has time and time again been the gateway to the expansion for me, and not for everyone, and not all the conversations that I have with others, but for me especially. And what does that mean for me? It means when I feel in a rut or a bad mood, for me, I love to get out and walk or have a dance or stretch. So it's the body. If I just sat there and thought about my problems, that might be all right. but I reckon I can get to a much higher frequency by moving my body. At the same time as creativity, when I'm creatively blocked, I I move my body and my body finds a way. And that, as well as many, many other examples, um, I realized that the body is the way. So I'm happy to expand more on all these topics, or go
Yeah.
ahead in whichever direction you want to go.
Yeah, I'm curious about I'm somatic as well, and so when you do move, breathe, um, we get out in nature, uh, what happens for you inside?
I think the biggest thing that happens to me, or the thing that I'm most aware of, is actually a quietening of the mind and a simplifying of my thoughts, a reconnection to what's important, a bigger perspective. So our mind, our brain, and our thoughts are all part of this beautiful equation. However, often when I need to go back to the body or get out in nature, the biggest thing that happens is, oh, I needed my mind to just give me a little bit of a break. I needed some space between the thoughts. I just needed um, to stop spiraling on a topic, and I needed to get a break from it. So that applies to so many aspects of my life. Like I said, with the creativity, the problem solving, the bad mood, all can be supported by just getting off my phone, getting out of the conversation, getting out of whatever I'm doing, and getting into the body.
Yeah, it brings me into the present moment because the body is the most present thing we have, right?
Absolutely. Couldn't have said that better. It's present moment, because all of the things I was describing is either like a thought or a worry or an anxiety about the past or the future. But the present moment is really what brings that level of calmness and peace. And yeah, the body is a practice of presence, stretching and feeling the sensitivity of whatever's going on in your body. So yeah, breath work is amazing. Getting out in nature and feeling your body with every step, with every moment you're having. So yeah, I agree.
And you work with people obviously with their desires to have, a fitter body, but also like pain and symptoms, and how do you help them connect with maybe what the wisdom of the body might be trying to
Hmm.
tell them?
Yeah, well, coming from the fitness industry, obviously the fitness industry is full of a very kind of logical and practical solution: physiotherapy and stretching and exercises, and these are all really important. If you have an injury, you need to do these aspects. But so often, what I see is, even myself in my past, and I'm still learning what we're about to talk about. Um, but what I see is just 100% focus on the physical, and that is useful because of, like I said, you need the exercises, you need the stretching, but there's something deeper to that, I believe. And I think that injuries and tightness, or roadblocks of some form with our physical body, is a message of some form. And I believe everything is an energetic or emotional issue first before it shows up in the physical. So that might be interesting to have a conversation with somebody about, well, you keep having a repetitive knee pain. And yes, you can do these exercises, but what might be the energetic origin or the emotional origin to this knee pain? And what if that emotion could speak? or talk to you, or if your knee could talk to you, what would the message be? And in most cases, it's a clear message what that might be for that person. And then what is also quite clear usually is how that person has been ignoring that voice for a while. And very commonly, it's you need to rest and recover. You need to stop working on it. Um, is very often the case, especially with myself. And it's usually not just related to the injury or the exercise or the movement, but an actual condition or a habitual way that that person acts in other aspects of their life. Like for me, in my injuries, it's very related to overworking and not and having guilt about resting. Many of my injuries I've just pushed through and worked through and traumatized myself. I remember one half marathon and marathon. I was sponsored by a company, so I felt humongous pressure to turn up, raise money, and finish the race. I'm not paying. I'm raising money. I'm I'm representing a brand, so I've got to turn up. But the knee was absolutely terrible. I couldn't run a kilometer, let alone 42 kilometers. But I just hobbled through it and had a terrible time and just ignored, brush it under the carpet and hobble through. And I have many situations and examples like this. And I think that had like a a deep effect, not just on the knee, but also emotionally and energetically. How else was I putting other people's priorities first over mine? And how can I listen to the voice that says no? You can say no, you can cancel, you can move things. What do you need? So once I started to heal that condition and work on it and live authentically to my truth, then that can help heal the injuries because they're a manifestation of the behavior and the condition. This is what I'm starting to learn. Can I have this conversation with all of my clients? No, because you've got to be at a certain level of understanding for me to maybe have that conversation. But maybe I could have um, leading questions in that direction.
Yeah, and so then the healing of the pain or the habit or not loving ourselves or whatever, in my experience, creates a space in the body, which then I think goes to your topic about the body as a gateway to expansion.
Mm, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? How maybe that is that opening that then we can allow more, say, of our spirit, soul into that space to allow our consciousness, body, mind, spirit to expand?
Yeah. Well, where my head goes with that expansion and space is that we are a being of frequency, of vibration, and an injury or a suppressed emotion or an element of our being which we're not honoring is holding a lower frequency, a lower vibration in our body. And sometimes I feel like energy and things come to the surface, injuries come to the surface to be healed, an opportunity to actually work on something that you might have suppressed, which maybe could be seen as frustrating. But I see it as an opportunity if it arises. So if you do go through that healing and find that space and expand, then your frequency as a being increases, rises, which then makes it easier for us to connect to our higher selves and our souls and higher beings of whatever you want to say. Um, and and yes, make us make us more aware of our multidimensionality and our consciousness, I believe.
Yeah, I know that you've also studied Reiki and have interests in
Mm.
extraterrestrials and the
Yeah.
Palladians. You want to talk a little bit about those passions in your life?
Yeah. Well, like I said, my awakening wasn't one key moment. They were a variety of milestones along the past decade, should we say, starting with the interest in manifestation and law of attraction, where I think a lot of people start is a curiosity there. And I always had a curiosity, and of course there were elements of me that had skeptical parts, but the deeper knowing inside of me knew that there was more to life. So over the years, it took me down a path of conspiracies and all of that. And I think being either a male, or very physical, or whatever, I was also interested in aliens and ancient civilizations, pyramids, and old ancient parts of the world. And a part of me knew that things just didn't add up. And the truth was not being told. So yeah, one rabbit hole after another pushed me through out to the other side, which ultimately is spirituality. Like in the other, if you make it out the other side of conspiracy, I think it's lots of stories all suggesting a very similar or the same outcome, and that is that we are one, and we have a soul, and we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And after this realization, I was open to so much more, and whether that's plant medicines, energy healing, all of these things. So Reiki was always on my radar, and when I was offered a chance to go do a course, I took it up immediately, and it felt entirely natural and beautiful. I've always known that we could heal ourselves, but being introduced to this Japanese tradition, because I studied the original Jikiden Japanese Reiki, which they are very careful about its dilution and how it's spread, how it's taught. They stay very on it with its original traditions. And I loved it. And I was able to start healing myself and my loved ones around me, and gave my dad some sessions and my wife some sessions. And then I went back and did the distance Reiki as well. And it's just as powerful. And not that I would ever be in disbelief, but a part of me sometimes feels, wow, this is crazy. This is amazing. This is like a cheat code that God gave us, as well as many other cheat codes that he's they have sprinkled around all over the place. So it blows me away, as well as many other things.
Beautiful. I think it's time to have the rest of us join. And any questions from the group in this moment?
What's most present for you now, Alex, in terms of your curiosity and your inquiry?
Oh, I'm very aware of what could be what could be said is the global ascension, the shift, the awakening, the new earth. This thing. This feels like the biggest thing, the biggest perspective to have is that us as a human collective are going through a very, very big change that has been spoken about and thought about for a long time. And we are in that present moment now. So everything that I do and everything that I try to be is trying to honor the fact that we are a collective consciousness going through this. We have already won, we have already ascended, but we are in the chrysalis of a crazy world with with darkness and light playing it out. And that polarity exists, but if you are willing to have the courage to go a step deeper or higher in perspective and know that it is oneness actually playing it all out. And that doesn't take away from the compassion required from feeling the darkness and terrible things happening in our world. But it does give me the courage and strength to ground in the light even more and not continue giving the darkness energy. So yes, the spiritual war is in my mind, but yeah, I try not to spend too much time there thinking about it, because I think we're already in the new earth. We're already connecting like this. This is it. We're here sharing love and oneness with podcast talks, new friends, and events.
Oh, it's so good to hear your seeing and your perspective. I was with my daughter at her jiu-jitsu lesson last night watching. She's new to it. And then the instructor said, well, why don't you have a go? Sort of rolled my eyes, oh, dinner's waiting, And then about 10 minutes later, I found myself on the floor, wrestling this guy, laughing. And what it made me think about when you were speaking about was this moving from spectating to fully participating, and how the instructor was talking about energy and moving the energy, and actually how much joy there was in the full engagement, as opposed to just the watching. Sort of, I'd say, two halves to my life. The first half of fighting my body just to see what it could do in a sort of subtle attempt to maybe destroy it in a kind of way, to actually realizing and appreciating what it is and seeking to work with it and to listen to it and to respond to it. And I feel like that awareness, or that shift in the relationship we can have with our body, can really change things for everybody relative to where they are.
Yes. This is really key. Thank you for bringing this topic up and working with your body. And in the health and fitness industry, it's full of do this to change, and the desire to change your body is on the front of so many people's minds, to lose weight, to build more muscle. And if we're not careful, that can be I'm not happy with what I want, therefore I need to change, therefore I need to follow this program, therefore I need to eat this food and buy these supplements. But a very subtle shift to what you're saying, which is celebrating the playfulness, and if we're grateful for what we have at whatever journey, whatever part of the journey we're on, that is a total different approach, and probably a much more motivating and inspiring one. And so many people struggle with being motivated to get up and exercise every day, but I guarantee the motivation becomes just easy and natural for people when they have a perspective of celebrating and honoring their body and going out and enjoying it, rather than looking in the mirror, seeing yourself naked and hating yourself and wanting to go change it. That's not fun, and that's not working with your body. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and also bringing up the topic of play. Jiu-jitsu is fighting, but it's playtime by the sounds of it. You got up and you had fun with another guy, and you were laughing around with it. And I think playfulness for an adult is really required. And play is most usually physical. It's moving our body, and again, especially in fitness, a long period of time for me was very much moving your body from A to B. That is it. That's all you got to do to build the muscle. And I gradually lost touch with the sports that I loved when I was young, but generally playing and dancing and things like this. And I think trying to connect back to our inner child and just playing physically is just amazing for our soul and our frequency, but a great way to move our body, for our physical body to stay young as well, in whatever form that takes you. And then lastly, the thought that came up with you speaking, Barry, was about the would you say, observing and participating, and that related to me thinking about the new earth and all of that. And we have a choice now to watch what's happening in the world or to participate in some way and offer ourselves. And for me, living in the world of social media and being online as a public profile, what's been a bit of my journey, a bit of my healing journey, and yeah, my ascension is my authenticity and speaking my truth, and being known for fitness had boxed me in because I'd been sharing content in one field for a while. And what I've done over the past couple of years is start to express myself in my fullness. And I didn't do that for a while because of the fear of judgment, the fear of losing the followers that I'd gained if I start talking about the stuff that I really want to talk about.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an overnight switch. It's been gradual sharing of these things. And I had to let go of the fear. But even if a post of me shirtless talking about exercise would get me 20,000 likes, and a post about something spiritual, should we say, gets me 100 likes, I started to realize that I felt fulfilled either way. I don't, because I expressed myself and my I've been I remember in the early days I worked with Will Caminada, who you'll also be talking to, I guess, in some breathwork sessions, and a lot that came up for me in my healing with breathwork was my throat chakra and allowing myself to speak my truth and be heard. And I've practiced that on social media, and I think partly because of what's going on in the world, I wanted to participate, and I wanted to be proud in 50 years when we're on the other side and say, what did I do? Did I silently wait, or was I a part of the big picture? And that's what I try to show up and be every day.
Further inquiry, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on. We've got a dear friend, Dr. Carolyn Edelston, that's a previous podcast guest. She's a qualified medical doctor, but also a practitioner in lots of Eastern modalities, and she refuses to see anything other than the innate wellness of the people she meets and just seeks to help them remember that. So her default is to look at the innate wellness. We have this inquiry, what is the potential of the human body and the physical experience? And what does that look like to actually explore our wellness, as opposed to, I'd love to hear your thoughts around that exploration, and not just in the elite performance elements, but in a more holistic way.
Yeah, I also agree that I think well-being is our natural state, and people have forgotten that, and we always need reminder of that because it's so normalized that we're unhealthy and we need to be fixed in some way. And returning back to our natural state of complete well-being and health is possible when we either remove the blockages that we're putting in our way, or we help reconnect to the things that make us well. I think there has been an overcomplication in how to be healthy and fit, and that's, I think, partly on purpose, so that we are not connected to our power, because it's free to get out in nature and touch the trees and put your bare feet on the ground. You don't have to pay a big company to eat fruit and vegetables every day and move your body. So yes, a simplification of how to be healthy connects us back to our true well-being. And that can be really hard to hear to somebody who is facing pain every day or a chronic illness of some form, and that is hard. But I think hearing this, there hopefully is some kind of reassurance of some kind, because knowing that we can do all the physical 3D stuff of eating healthy and moving the body and taking our supplements and vitamins and minerals and doing the exercises, all things that we can physically do, but which is obviously my topic that we're talking about, the physical body, but touching also on the fact that we are multidimensional and that there needs to be time spent in the field outside of what we can see and touch in order to reconnect to that well-being. So whether that's in meditation or some other way that you're able to disconnect to reconnect and connect to the well-being that we are, visualizing and experiencing what that truly feels like for that individual, even if it's a moment or 5 minutes of not being in pain, or imagining what it feels like to be fit and well again, I believe creates a massive impact on our lives. This is obviously this connects to the manifestation topic, and manifesting happens first in energy before it happens in physical space.
Thank you.
So we're all singing off the same hymn sheet. That's kind of nice. We're all looking at realizing golden earth, is how I would put it. And it's interesting because one of the big takeaways from a conversation I had with Carolyn, and it certainly resonates here and now, is that if we believe it's possible for our body to heal itself, it will heal itself. My experience is I was doing all these great things that I was told to do, no drinking, no eating too many carbs, no sugar, exercising, out in the acre garden, digging and doing all this stuff. I don't go to the gym, but I do a lot of physical work and walk a lot and stuff. All this great stuff. And then everything kind of went, ugh, and I got physically hit this kind of brick wall, really. And it was all to do with the belief part of it. Clearing all the fears. I've spent 40 years doing that, clearing all of that. And it's now moved to a different level. And I really would like to ask you about this, Alex, because we're talking about the soul, but there's the step beyond the soul. Beyond the soul is the monad. So we're a soul, which is a very specific thing, oversoul to me. And once we realize we're multidimensional, we're connected to everything that is. And that brings with it a whole new level of, surprise, surprise, complexity about wellness, about fears, about all of these sorts of things. I know you've experienced this, and I just wondered if you feel to share anything about this. Any of your insights or your experiences about once you become familiar with the soul level, what's the next expansion? And for the body, what is that all about?
Well, my mind went into a place when you were talking about that, topics about karma and our life's journey and free will versus the path that we've set out in front of ourselves to take, and the paradox of that. I think on a soul level and on maybe a higher level, like you said, is maybe in this life we've chosen certain things in order for us to learn and overcome certain things. And it's our choice and our free will to either do that or to not. And at the end of our life, we're able to sit down and have our post-life chat and say, oh, I managed to do, oh, I did that. Oh, no, I didn't quite do that. Which sounds interesting and fun. So this kind of goes on in my head from a physical body point of view, thinking maybe I'm given this ailment or this injury or this disease for a reason of some kind. And that doesn't take the power away from us to do something about it, but that higher perspective, I think, can help. I think many of us get trapped in this perspective, this human perspective of victim, I guess, which there's that, but the higher up the perspective goes, the more detached you can feel from whatever's going on, and you can find the reasons and the lessons in whatever's happening in your life and others, whether it's in the physical body or relationships, career, life path, all of this. So that's where my head went with that, because I think we're all playing out a particular role with each other and ourselves.
Well, that certainly resonates with my truth about it, which is we're here with a very clear set of missions. My my world is a sort of, it's a spreadsheet of things that that's on the list of things to do, and various tasks that I have the opportunity to complete if I so choose freely. And the interesting thing about when you were talking there was what popped in was about the body. Maybe this is a little bit too esoteric and a bit too metaphysical, but what is the body? The body, I believe, for me, the body is from Earth. It's of Earth. It's not separate from Earth. That's the unity of it. At the monadic level, it's what is going on with Earth, and how does that impact on the monad? How does that impact on the consciousness that the monad it has access to? And so that's been quite interesting, because there's been a lot of inflammation. And if we look around the world, look around the Earth at the moment, that was during the summer, it was pretty hard, pretty intense. All of the forest fires and all of the, the volcanic eruptions and all of that. So I feel like we're moving to a place of looking at the body from a different perspective, rather than looking at it as a personal thing to own, looking at it from the monadic point of view, from the multidimensional point of view. What is in our body, what's showing up in our body that's the Earth is, as one is experiencing. And that to me feels like that's the sort of frontier of fitness for Golden Earth, really.
Yes. And a few things come to mind, and that is we have a universe within ourselves. So whilst we can look out and see the Earth, the world, the universe, if we have a universe within ourselves, then if we just focus on our healing, our body, our mind, our emotional healing, then that is healing the monad level, the consciousness. It is healing the Earth and the universe and raising the frequency. So whilst we can do our best to focus on healing the Earth and helping the Earth, the best thing we can do is focus on ourselves first, because that is our biggest control that we have. And that relates also to as within, so without, and as above, so below. Maybe what we're seeing with Mother Gaia and the Earth, if we are Earth and are connected, then the volcanoes and the storms and the floods and the fires are ways in which the Earth is expressing its healing as it ascends. Like I said, sometimes our knee pain or our injury comes to the surface to be healed. I believe that that's what Mother Gaia is doing also with everything that's going on. The wars on the surface, the fires and the floods and the storms is the same thing that she's doing in preparation to raise her frequency. So having that perspective in our own world is a great way to see the outside as well.
Yeah, my daughter asked me the other day, Daddy, why do we have a skeleton? And we were laughing because I said, well, otherwise we'd just be a jelly. And that's not true, in the sense of we don't just have our infrastructure, because one of our other guests talked about the fascia, that how our body's made up of tensions, and that by going, this is for me, this feeling of participation rather than avoiding the tension, is going into and feeling the tension. And I wonder, I was some friends the other day walking in the woods, it was just so beautiful. And then we were laughing and talking about coherence, as in, how does the form that looks like Barry show up every day? Those millions and billions of cells just come in this order and create this shape. I've just got this feeling around the coherence, and what we're talking about around inflammation is the balancing of the different energies, and our body being both a microcosm and macrocosm of that balancing, and the privilege of that, like having the body to experience that. and to honor that. And it requires, in my case, it requires attention, because the absence of attention means I can easily get pulled out of balance. And it feels like this is the challenge we all have, to honor and retain our own sovereignty while staying connected to everything that's going on. And it requires our attention, our daily attention, our momentary attention. But over time, it gets easier, not so that life becomes easy. It becomes easier so we can deal with more significant things. And that process sort of never ending, or I feel like that process isn't ending. It's just moving to a different place.
Yeah, but I think that's expansion, isn't it? And I think a spiritual journey is really beneficial to our whole entire life, because we're able to hold more as we expand our consciousness. It doesn't mean that we avoid stress and tension, like you said, in life. I think we're able to process and handle more when we have stress as a human, which is inevitable. I believe we're able to handle it and hopefully not avoid it. But like you said, going into the tension, I love just a little saying, the only way is through. And that kind of stays in my mind, as well as do hard things for an easy life, or do easy things for a hard life. So I try to remember that the hard things that are coming up for me are most probably an opportunity for me to have an easier life. And I notice, either in my past experiences or people around me, that if they're continuously opting for easy way outs, their life is becoming harder and harder because of that. So yeah, that's what I thought about what you were saying there.
Alex, thank you for that. I wanted to just ask a question. So what is an easy way to integrate or to balance the mind, body, and the spirit?
I think probably the easiest way is to do what we like to do as humans, and that is to have a checklist or a list of habits that are simple, achievable, and accessible and realistic in your life, that honor all aspects of your being. And I'm putting this list together actually in a book idea this year, which will be really fun, to help people with exactly this, where you honor the body, the mind, and the spirit. So yeah, I think that is the key thing to do. So of course, work out or move the body or go for a walk, time out in nature, eating from the earth. So making sure that you're not eating junk food and you're not harming your body in this way, but you're eating vibrationally high food from the earth, because like Lorna said, we are part of earth. So we are fueled by the food that she has given to us so naturally, for the most part, of course. And all of this doesn't mean perfection. I coach a lot of people to get out of this perfectionist mindset as well, and progress over perfection is absolutely key, because as soon as we feel like we have to be perfect, the moment we don't, and we eat that lovely gorgeous chocolate bar, or we have a few drinks in the weekend, then there's a chance that we feel terrible about it, and then we slip back into either old habits, we've fallen off and we don't know how to start again, and we can spiral downwards, rather than knowing that we're human. 80-90% is better. Consistently good over occasionally perfect is much better. And then what some people, maybe the lay person, or the person that isn't as connected to this stuff yet, is simple things like meditation, journaling, reading, time alone, time in your own consciousness. I feel like we are in a very, very detached world, distracted world, that is continuously trying to get our attention on our phones, our devices, our TVs. So practicing or having a practice that brings you back to your consciousness in some form or another, a meditation, visualization, or even a guided meditation. These are key. And then other things like either getting hot in a sauna or getting cold in a cold plunge. These are ways to reconnect you to your body as well. Like Greg said about present moment. there's no way you can't be present when you're in a cold plunge. You try not to be present, but when you're in a cold plunge, there's only one thing you can think about, and that is, whew, this is cold, and my body is feeling it. So, yeah, elements like this.
All of you said is perfect, and to add to it, that to listen and to observe, because the earth around us is constantly seeking to give us messages and attention and love and nurturing and care and all of these energetic gifts. Yes, meditation is wonderful. Yes, lots of things are wonderful. But this is absolutely a great gift, sitting in the garden, doing nothing, listening, watching, paying attention. And that's what the guides would also like to just add in there, that, and it doesn't, like you said earlier, Alex, doesn't cost anything. Costs absolutely nothing. And yet, whenever I remember to do it, which I do occasionally remember, there's always a massive gift in it. There's always a massive remembrance, or a massive energetic exchange in it. So,
what are some key messages or remembering? Like, what is it to you when you're out in the garden and you listen usually?
Oh, there's so many. Memorable one yesterday was I was repotting some plants, taking them out of containers because they were telling me they weren't happy. They were root bound. And as I was doing that, this flock of birds, I don't even know what kind of birds they were, was almost created like this murmuration. It wasn't a murmuration, but this flock of birds came over and said, it's about freedom. Like, plants need freedom. You know, constraining, this is what I interpreted from, this is what the guides were pointing to me, was that, putting a plant in a pot for a while, no problem. But at some point, the plant needs to be free. We all need to realize that the freedom isn't a straight line. Freedom is a massive bandwidth, right?
I love that.
Yeah. So that there's lots of things which are, it's the simplicity of it.
Yeah. And also for a lot of people, including myself, is trusting yourself with that inner guidance. Because when those messages come, and they can come in so many forms, and very commonly just a download and a thought, is trusting that is a download, that is inner guidance of some form, and that is a message received. And I feel like I was blocking myself from that communication for some time because I was attached to the idea of the famous channelers that we have in our society, where they are sat down, eyes closed, receiving clear words of communication. And I didn't think I was connected unless I looked like that, until I started to realize, oh, I'm being spoken to continuously all over the place through that number on the screen, from that song on the radio to that thought that's dropping into me when I've decided to finally get off my phone and go for a walk. And I think so many people could just trust themselves, because as soon as they do trust themselves and the inner guidance, then it's like a flow, and then more comes, and your connection increases.
Yeah, beautifully said. Yeah, we're quite we quite commonly talk about there's only one channel on here, so there's only the one channel. We're all in it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to, that limitation of expecting it's got to be a certain way, or speak about it in a certain way, or it's a certain being that's talking through you. Everything is in the channel, including us.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, love it too.
Alex,
thank you.
Just a reminder to come back to that and speak as we feel, as we see, in the moment, and the potency of the potential and the realization of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, It's I feel most comfortable in this space because it, like you said, we're singing off the same sheet, so it makes me feel comfortable, and my authenticity feels a lot freer. Obviously, we can all be in places where we feel less comfortable to be ourselves, and that is something that I'm working on as well. So I'm grateful for these opportunities where I get to truly practice it. But the potency, like you said, is important because I feel like we all have this realness about ourselves, and sometimes we can be in a social situation with other people, and as soon as you connect with someone on a real level, it helps you open up so much more. So sometimes I'm finding myself having the courage sometimes to be myself fully, fearlessly, and that has an effect on whoever I'm around, maybe just energetically in the room as well.
I think this was about our 23rd podcast, and almost every single guest has said something to the sentiment of, this feels completely natural. And I'm not always in this space as much as I'd like to be.
That's reassuring to hear that the incredible guests you've had on say a similar thing to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and great on you guys for listening in and now creating that space.
Well, there's a lot of help. So we're the ones that are taking the action, and the guidance is coming through us.
Yeah.
And it's a channel. Here's a funny thing. It's a channel that wants to grow. So it's all about the expansion of the channel, the one channel and this channel, and each of us as a channel. So that's what the divine wills it to be so for the golden earth.
Yeah.
So there's only authenticity, there's only transparency and truth as one is able in the moment to receive and perceive it.
To receive more information about our guests and future events, please visit our website at oursoulspeak.com. We are one.